So, Dave, what is your favorite piece of fruit?
I would say orange.
Oranges are your favorite?
Oh, I love them.
They're too much work, man.
And sometimes I eat the rind.
What?
I should have told you that.
What?
That's what everybody says. Not the whole thing, but I'll eat the rind a little bit as long as it's washed off and clean.
Eat the rind a little bit?
It's like good for you, so it makes you grow hair. That's what it does.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, listen, he's Dave, and Jeff's out of town, and I'm Chris, and today we are the Bible Guys. All right. Well, Dave, today Desiree has put these segments together.
Is that who puts these little ideas together?
And as always, we never really review them on purpose because we want them to be on the spot. So today there's a segment that's usually reserved for me.
Oh.
And it's the
Let's
Friday.
do that then. I don't need to do it.
No. It's the segment that is always called "What Made Chris Mad Today," because Jeff jokes and says, "I'm so passionate about most things." So
I've seen you get mad about a few things. There's probably something every day that gets you stirred up.
I wouldn't say every day.
Not every day?
No, sure not. No, surely not. But today we're going to throw that segment your way. So the question is, what made Dave mad this week?
What didn't make Dave mad this week?
Yeah.
My first thought is it happened the other night. I was driving to an event.
Uh-huh.
And I should have looked at my GPS, but I'd gone there so many times, I didn't realize the road is closed.
Oh,
and
no.
I'm sort of tight on time. I was playing guitar in the band, and we had rehearsal. And so I'm like, how do I get there? And the only way to get there, and this is what makes me mad, and it's not just this week, I can't stand this about Michigan.
Yes.
I grew up in Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
I hate to say that. I'm a Buckeye.
I'm already mad with you, and I don't even know what it is.
Dirt roads.
Oh.
I've never been in a state where people have subdivisions on dirt roads.
And not only that, but nice houses on dirt roads.
I know, and they like it.
Yeah, they like it.
So I had to get off, and I like a clean car. I wash it every week. Actually, my wife, Ann, loves a clean car, and she washes it a lot. The first house we ever rented in Michigan was on a dirt road, and we're renting. But I went to my neighbors in the first week. I said, "Hey, what do we have to do to get this road paved?" And they looked at me like, "Why would we want our road paved?" I go, "You don't like living on this." They're like, "Oh yeah." Like what? Potholes and mud and anyway that. There's two things.
I
You want me
can't
to get the other
understand it.
one?
I can't understand it.
What is it about Michigan lefts?
Oh yeah.
We got dirt roads, and you can't turn left at the light. You have to go down a half mile and whip around.
I've Googled this before when I first
Tell me what
came
it
to
is.
this
Somebody
state.
tell us why there are Michigan lefts.
Well, I don't think I have an official website to point you to, but I am almost certain that someone referred me to something that I read that has to do with left-hand turns through intersections cause more deaths than any other traffic maneuver.
Really?
Right? So what they do is they have you go, just in case nobody knows, Michigan lefts are, instead of taking a left in a major intersection, which, by the way, only takes place with a median. Did you know that? Michigan lefts only take place with a median.
Oh, I thought it was everywhere. It feels like it's everywhere.
Yeah. No. It's actually only in the intersections.
So you're telling me that Michigan has lower deaths than other states because
I didn't say it was effective because I don't know the results of that. I just know that it was created, I believe, for that reason.
Hey, let me ask you this.
So instead, which by the way, let's explain it. So instead of making a left through a really busy intersection like 5 lanes,
sure,
they have you go straight through the intersection, do a U-turn around the median, get in the right lane, then make a right-hand turn.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
So a Michigan left ends up being a right-hand turn.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know what I was going to say, but I was thinking all the things that make me mad. They're all driving things. People in the left lane on a highway that don't pass, they just stay there.
Yeah.
People, you're not supposed to be in that left lane unless you're going by people.
It's called the passing lane.
How about when you want to turn left and there's a arrow, right?
Yeah.
And it's red, so you can't turn left, and there's no one coming for a half hour. You have to sit there and wait for the green arrow.
Yeah.
Again.
That's
too much.
That's actually the law, Dave.
I know, and so sometimes I don't do what I'm supposed to do. Can you tell I might have problems when I get in the car?
Well, I think most people get frustrated in driving, right? And by the way, do you know that the main reason why I get frustrated in driving is
I'd love to hear it.
It's a communal event.
What?
It's communal.
What's communal? Even when you're in a car
the
by
act
yourself.
of driving. The act of
You're
driving.
with a community.
The act of driving is supposed to be that you're supposed to look out for the benefit of every driver on the road.
Yeah.
Like you come to a four-way stop sign, everybody's supposed to know what to do and then do it together. When you come to a merge, there's a rule that everybody's supposed to do together. When it comes to passing lanes, you're supposed to consider everybody on the road. When it comes to red lights, everything, you're supposed to consider everybody on the road, because it's not just you, it's you with everybody.
What happens though? We get in a car and we become evil. And of course, I'm not as evil as everybody else. I mean, everybody else is an idiot but me. But Ann says every time I get behind the wheel, she's like, "You are scary."
That is funny.
But I don't think this has anything to do with the Bible passage we're looking at today.
No, that's our segment. So let's enjoy that.
Thank you, Desiree, for getting me all riled up.
Right. Now you're going to read the scripture with haste. Well, today we're doing the Harmony of the Gospels, as always. We've been in this series for quite a while. And we're looking
People know what the Harmony of the Gospels means?
Well, if they've been following our series, they do.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's basically the four Gospels are written by four authors, summarizing the life of Jesus. Some events are overlapped and recorded in multiple Gospels, and some accounts are not. Well, this passage today, where Jesus talks about teaching about the fruit in people's lives, are recorded both in Matthew 7 and in Luke 6. We're going to read both of those.
Here we go. Matthew 7:15 through 29. Jesus said, "Beware of false prophets who come disguised as harmless sheep, but are really vicious wolves." Man, you can identify them by their fruit. That is, by the way they act. Can you pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? A good tree produces good fruit, and a bad tree produces bad fruit. A good tree can't produce bad fruit, and a bad tree can't produce good fruit. So every tree that does not produce good fruit is chopped down and thrown into the fire. Yes, just as you can identify a tree by its fruit, so you can identify people by their actions. Not everyone who calls out to me, "Lord, Lord," will enter the kingdom of heaven. Only those who actually do the will of my Father in heaven will enter. On Judgment Day, many will say to me, "Lord, Lord, we prophesied in your name and cast out demons in your name and performed many miracles in your name." But I will reply, "I never knew you. Get away from me, you who break God's laws." Anyone who listens to my teaching and follows it is wise, like a person who builds a house on solid rock. Though the rain comes in torrents and the flood waters rise and the winds beat against that house, it won't collapse because it is built on bedrock. But anyone who hears my teaching and doesn't obey it is foolish, like a person who builds a house on sand. When the rains and floods come and the winds beat against that house, it will collapse with a mighty crash. When Jesus had finished saying these things, the crowds were amazed at his teaching, for he taught with real authority, quite unlike their teachers of religious law. And Luke 6:43 through 49 says it this way: "A good tree can't produce bad fruit, and a bad tree can't produce good fruit. A tree is identified by its fruit. Figs are never gathered from thorn bushes, and grapes are never picked from bramble bushes. A good person produces good things from the treasury of a good heart, and an evil person produces evil things from the treasury of an evil heart. What you say flows from what is in your heart. So why do you keep calling me Lord, Lord, when you don't do what I say? I will show you what it's like when someone comes to me, listens to my teaching, and then follows it. It is like a person building a house who digs deep and lays the foundation on solid rock. When the flood waters rise and break against that house, it stands firm because it is well built. But anyone who hears and doesn't obey is like a person who builds a house without a foundation. When the floods sweep down against that house, it will collapse into a heap of ruins."
Yeah. Wow. I think it's interesting how both times, of course, it's the same story, same event, but, you sort of go from this one thought of Jesus saying, if a person believes in me and acts it out, they'll produce good fruit. If not, they'll produce bad fruit. And then it goes right into building a house on foundation of sinking sand. And they don't seem like they're the same thought, and really, they're really not. They're two completely different analogies, because back then everybody knew what it was like to grow grapes. And I think that most people understood what it was like to build houses, because you don't hire construction companies in those days.
Yeah.
In the first century, everybody built houses, and they built them on the earth, this plot of earth. And so, foundations were something that I think for the most part, everybody understood. So, and what it was really saying is, it's the foundation of my word that produces good fruit. And it's the foundation of my word that you can build your life upon, or your house.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, as Ann and I have taught this passage in marriage conferences, because it's talking about building a house and building a marriage, building a family. It's interesting what the difference is between what he calls the wise man and the fool. And, there's been times where I've read this passage and left out, and people don't even notice. Because you say, anyone who hears my word is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The floods are coming, storms are coming, it's going to stand. And I left something out. The difference between the wise man and the fool, in Luke and in Matthew, Jesus said, anyone who hears these words of mine and obeys them,
there it is
a wise man. Then he says, anyone who hears these words of mine and does not obey them is a fool, and is going to build on the sand. The same storms are coming. Your marriage is going to crumble. Your family, your house is going down. And the truth is, we sort of think going to church, getting to a Bible study, a small group, reading the Word of God, that's it. He's like, that's part of it.
Right.
But it's not just knowing the Word, it's doing it. So it's like, you can sit in church, and we know this. We've been pastors for 30, 40 years. People sit in church, and they walk out, and they don't do it. And they think, because I was in church, because I read the Bible verse, I'm a wise man. He says, no, you're not a wise man. If you read it or hear it, you're a wise man if you do it. That separates the world. And I think that's when he says, many will come to me on the last day. And we're thinking, I'm in. And he's like, you didn't obey it. You know it. You can quote the Bible. Isn't it how many times you go through the Bible? It's how many times the Bible goes through you. You ever heard that quote? It's really true. Is how do we live? That's the fruit of how we behave, what our behavior is.
Well, another good quote would be, so that means that Christianity is not about information, it's about application. Right. So, it's not about another Bible study or another, I always laugh about people who say like, I'm going to leave your church because I want to go somewhere where there's more meat and potatoes. And what they really mean is
deeper teaching.
Yeah. What they really mean is they want somebody else to do their studying for them. Right. Which means, it sounds mature, but all you're doing is you're saying, I want to be in a high chair and have somebody spoon feed me.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's really infancy because a mature person seeks out meat and potatoes, right? So it's not our job to feed people. As pastors, it's our job to make them hungry, right? And so, the idea that like somebody would say like, I got to go this other church and learn some more. Well, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with those types of churches. But as long as what you're saying is, you're saying like, just because you don't learn something, the point is, do you do it? Right? Hey, what about that sermon I preached the other day? Have you mastered that? Well, no, I haven't mastered that. Well, then you needed it.
Yeah.
Right? Just because it's not new information from you.
I mean, I read a story, I don't even know if it's true, years ago about a pastor who gave the same sermon every week. Now, I know it's probably just made up.
Yeah, that sounds made up.
But it sounded like, the third week, they're like, hey, you said the same thing last week. He goes, did you do it yet? I'm going to keep preaching it until you start doing it. And again, it's made up. But it is true. It's like, how many times have we heard a sermon and we've had good intentions, like I'm going to do this, and then we just don't. And I think Jesus is getting right in our space saying, it's not what you know, it's what you do. Are you living this? Because I think you're going to be deceived because, and again, we're not going to get into heaven by what we do, but fruit reveals the vine. Jesus said in John 15, I am the vine and you are the
branches.
You're the branches, and if you abide in me, you produce good fruit.
Yeah.
That fruit we don't make it happen. It comes from the vine, but I think there should be fruit of obedience if we truly are connected to the vine, Jesus.
Now, by the way, it's worth pointing out that both Matthew 7 and Luke 6, they're so incredibly similar, but yet the authors record just slight different details.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, Matthew chapter 7 says, a good tree can't produce bad fruit, and a bad tree can't produce good fruit. And then it goes on and talks about the tree and the fruit. But yet Luke 6 says the same thing, and it says, a good person produces good things from the treasury of a good heart, and an evil person produces evil things from the treasury of an evil heart. So what he's really doing is he's saying it more literal. There's almost, that's the meaning of the verse, right?
Yeah.
So when he's talking about a good tree produces good fruit, what he's really saying is, hey, out of your heart comes, that which is inside.
Right.
What is inside produces. And so a fruit, meaning another word, could be evidence, right? The evidence of a life. And so, yeah, it is really good. Hey, I have a story about Luke 6:46, where it says, so why do you call me Lord, Lord, and you don't do what I say? Because it's by itself, that's a pretty convicting verse, right?
Oh, yeah.
You can catch anybody being a hypocrite and say Luke 6:46,
Yeah.
right? Why do you call Jesus Lord and don't do what he says?
Right.
And I remember I just became a Christian. I was at Youngstown Baptist Church in Youngstown, Ohio, and I'm considered one of the leaders already of this little tiny youth group of 30, 40 kids. But yet I was really a new Christian, so new that it was like 3 weeks or something. I mean, like we were talking right. I was 15 years old, and I remember being outside and playing volleyball in the back parking lot of the church, and I was very competitive and still am. And
No, not you.
yeah, not me. So we get done, and I go over to my car, and somebody, still don't know who, had written down Luke 6:46 and stuck it under my windshield. And I know what they were trying to say now. What they're trying to say now is like, hey, you weren't a very good, example. So I was so unbelievably new to the Christian faith. I went there with my brother, and I looked, and he says, what does it say? I said, Luke. I said, there's 3 numbers on here, 646. And I looked at him and I said, hey, who's Luke and where's the rest of his phone number?
Really?
It's true. So I had no idea that was even a thing, like a Bible verse. I didn't even get it.
Wow.
And I just thought that Luke wanted me to call him, and he forgot the last 4 digits.
No.
So, but anyway, all that to say, Luke 6:46 is something that I always think of when the clock hits.
Yeah.
It says 6:46, and I always think of this verse.
Really?
Yeah, all the time.
Really?
Yeah, for real.
Like at the end of your life,
Yep.
you're either in or out based on what you believe and how you live it out.
Yeah.
One of the verses that I've always found interesting, and you just mentioned a little bit, is Luke 6:45. At the very end, he says, what you say flows from what is in your heart. And I often think, if I want to change my language, whether it's cursing or slander or gossip or criticism, things that I say come out of my mouth, I think we often think, I got to clean up my speech. I got to clean up my language. I've heard guys say to me, I'm a follower of Christ. I got to stop cursing, right? Mm-hmm. And they think that's how you do it. And I think Jesus is saying, no. You want to change your tongue, you got to change your heart. I remember when I was in middle school, back then we called it junior high, but I think I was 13 years old, and I cussed at the dinner table. Again, single mom, so it was just mom sitting there, me, and she had some friends over. And I think I said the Lord's name in vain. I said, whatever. And I was, a kid that wasn't a follower of Christ, and I did not have good language. But I always spoke respectfully around my mom, never once cussed. Well, I cussed. Mm-hmm. And she grabs me by my shirt, and she said, I always told you I'm going to do this, and I'm doing it right now. And she whipped me into the kitchen. Don't ask me how. I was stronger than her at that time. And she got soap and water, and she washed my mouth out with soap and water. You ever hear anybody say, I'm going to
wash your mouth out with soap?
Well, she did it. I'll never forget. I was so embarrassed. And here's the truth. It didn't work.
Right.
It didn't work.
Right.
Because I remember I kept cussing and blah, 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 and I thought, it's a metaphor. She knew it's not going to work either, but you sort of think you got a tongue problem, you got to deal with the tongue. And Jesus said, you got a tongue problem?
Right.
The tongue bone's connected to the heart bone. You got to go. I'll remember this, dude. I'm in seminary.
I wrote that. That was your line. I didn't realize that was one of your lines.
Tongue bone is connected to the heart bone. Anyway, I'll never forget this. I was in seminary. The president of our seminary was teaching a pastoral major class, and he tells this story. Don Weaver is his name, and he was a pastor for 20 years before he was our seminary president. And he goes, hey, yesterday, guys, after class, I was getting on the freeway, driving home, and this guy cut me off, and he just bugged me so bad. As soon as he got next to me, I flipped him the bird as he went by. And Chris, we're like,
Right.
our seminary president
Right. Can't believe you just said that.
did that. And then he looked at the class. I'll never forget it. It just sticks out. And he goes, and as soon as I did that, I looked in the rearview mirror at myself and I said, what's wrong with your heart?
Yeah.
And we're all like, what's wrong with your heart? It's your finger. It's like, what are you?
Right.
He goes, I knew that action, something I got to deal with right here. And I think that's what Jesus is getting at, is you think it's a finger or a mouth. Even your actions are connected to your heart. It's like, God, what is going on here? If I put you as the Lord and God of my heart, it's gonna affect what I say. It's gonna affect how I build people up rather than tear them down.
Right.
It'll change your marriage.
Well, have you ever said something and you let it slip out and you go, oh, I don't know where that came from?
Yeah.
Jesus would say, I do.
Yeah.
Jesus would say, I know, because it's in there.
Yeah.
Right. And so, that you're right. It's an overflow. That's
Don't we
exactly
say that about marriage and parenting? It's like, I would never say things like that, act like that if I wasn't married to you. Or these kids bring out the worst in me. And the truth is, what they're bringing out is already in there. It's
Right.
just, the pressure of that life is bringing that out.
Hey, that song,
Oh, you got to sing us a song?
Don't build, no, I'm not going to sing it.
I wanna hear it.
But you know that song, you know it already. Don't build your house on sinking sand.
I don't think I know that one.
You're lying. You're lying.
wanna
You're
hear
just
you
saying
sing it.
that. That's what you're doing.
I want to hear you sing it.
All right, fine. I'll do it real quick. It goes, don't build your house on sinking sand. Don't build too near the shore. Well, it might be kind of nice, but you'll have to build it twice and you'll have to build your house once more. You got to build your house upon the rock, rock, rock. You got to build your foundation on solid spot. And when the storms of life may blow, the peace of God you'll always know. Cha-cha-cha.
I have never heard that song.
Is that true? Well, I was saying it really, really fast because I didn't want to bore everybody, but that's true. Yeah, we learned that as out of this verse, out of this passage, and I'm telling you what, in my mind, all the time I think that, because sometimes when you put scripture to music, it really helps, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you think about it all the time, which is why worship songs are so valuable.
Yeah.
Right?
People are going to go back and play this over and over and over. And
No,
learn that
they're
song.
not. No, they're not. But no, I think about that all the time. You got to build your house upon the rock, rock, rock. I think it all the time. And I'm telling you what, it has helped me through serious situations just because of that goofy song.
Big Tent Revival. You know that band?
Yes, of course.
They had a song called Two Sets of Joneses.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. Yeah, I
and
do.
the video was powerful, and it was just one set of Joneses built their house on the sand, one set built their house on the rock, and the storms came, and the wind blew, and he said only one stood. I'll never forget. It was just a beautiful song based literally on Jesus' words.
That's awesome. Well, hey, that is a great place to end, and hopefully we will see you Monday on The Bible Guys.